because it's called Core Collection, but there isn't a lot
Yeah,
here. There isn't a lot to collect. There isn't
no.
too many modes here. Today we are going to be talking about Pac-Man again. It seems like I can't avoid Pac-Man. I'm just kidding with you guys. I actually really like talking about Pac-Man. And today I want to talk about a Pac-Man horror game. I talked about
Mhm.
a Super Mario 64 horror game before. Now we're going to be talking about a Pac-Man themed horror game.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, I think Pac-Man is a really good idea for a horror game. I like the idea of being stuck in a maze trying to run away from Pac-Man. I
Mhm.
like the aesthetic of Pac-Man being a monster, and I'm really glad that the game Pac-Man Core Collection exists because of that. Because it brings that idea of being chased by Pac-Man to life.
Yeah. And I've seen uh I don't know what to call it, like I guess sketch-ups, like people doing drawings of what Pac-Man would be if it was a horror game. And I honestly I don't typically tend to like them too much. They typically cover him in blood and try to make him look a lot scarier by making him look more edgy. It doesn't tend to work out well. I think this game really makes him look like it's got a good balance. He looks like Pac-Man, but he also does look kind of creepy.
So, one of the games that made me realize Pac-Man would be a really cool horror game where you play as a ghost and you're trying to hunt down Pac-Man and avoid being killed by Pac-Man. Um,
Mhm.
that made me realize that Pac-Man would be a really good horror game. In this game, Pac-Man Core Collection, you are a human who stumbles into Pac-Man's maze, that being Maze 256, which is a reference to the kill screen in Pac-Man, the arcade version. And the whole goal of the game is to turn on generators a la fucking Dead by Daylight and
Yeah.
collect two ghosts.
Mhm.
And the main gameplay gimmick is that you have a limited amount of power pellets and you have to use them to lure Pac-Man to areas so you can get all of the objectives done. And if Pac-Man sees you, you have to try to run from him. You can somewhat hide from him, but I really think the hiding wasn't done good enough here. I think the hiding was done a lot
No.
better in the Mario 64 horror game.
Yeah.
Or you can run back to the gate and close the gate in the middle of the maze, and Pac-Man can't get you. Supposedly can't get you. I seen him get you anyway. So that one's kind
Like
of a lie.
glitch. Yeah. A little bit of a glitch there.
So
Oh, unless you mean when he runs into the maze.
yeah.
The You gotta close the gate.
So I think the biggest problem with this is the Pac-Man segment is way too short. Once you know how
Mhm.
to mess with Pac-Man's AI, you can beat it really quickly. And there's no phase 2, there's no second maze, there's nothing else. Once you beat the Pac-Man section, you are done with Pac-Man. And
Mhm.
that's just kind of lame,
Yeah.
because it's not that hard to get used to, it's not that hard to outsmart, and then when it's done, and you have nothing else left involving Pac-Man.
Yeah. It does look really fun, but I really wish there was more to it because of that.
The second segment that you can play is involving Miss Pac-Man. And I feel like with the Miss Pac-Man one, they really didn't know what they were doing with it, because with Miss
No.
Pac-Man, she has a giant eyeball in the middle of her stomach area for no reason.
Or
And
like,
in
yeah.
this one, you're just doing another maze. This time it's an arcade theme maze, and you have to go
Mhm.
to arcade cabinets and play mini games in order to beat the area. There's no fucking generators. You just lay down dots to get Miss Pac-Man away from you and do the arcade games. And
Mhm.
I really feel like if there were at least 4 levels to this, it wouldn't be that bad. But the Miss Pac-Man section is even more easy than the Pac-Man section if you know how to beat the mini games. And
Mhm.
I think you can beat it even quicker than the Pac-Man section. And yet again, once you beat this, there's nothing else. There's no hidden bonus mode. There's no adding Miss Pac-Man to the Pac-Man maze. There's nothing else. There's no other difficulties or anything. It's just 2 mazes and then you're done.
Yeah. and it's pretty short. I think it would be really cool if there were more levels and stuff to it because it is pretty interesting. I like the concept of it. It's just sad that it's so short of a game.
I'm really impressed by what they've got, and I
Hmm.
think that in the future, if they do choose to do a sequel or follow-up or anything, I think it'd be more interesting to have it be a multiplayer game where one of
Ooh,
the people play as Pac-Man and the other people play as Ghost. And it's
that
still
would.
the same horror game, except for Pac-Man can have like a limited boost where he can just charge through.
Hmm.
That'd be kind of cool.
And I think if he's doing the boost, then you shouldn't be able to control him as well. You should just be able to run in a straight line. That way, you're inevitably forced to break some of the walls if they choose to keep some of the walls
Yeah.
to slow people down.
So I see this as being great potential for a good horror game, but for what
Yeah.
it is, it's a cool demo. It's a cool proof of concept. It's an
Hmm.
alright mini game. It's an alright like project. I don't know how devoted the person was to making this, but it's good. It plays competently. It looks really nice. I kind of wish it had more of a Pac-Man aesthetic. Like maybe if it was a neon
Yeah.
maze or something, or if there was a classic mode or something. But for what it is, it's fine. You just trick Pac-Man to tear down the walls. You get the ghost, you turn on the generators, and you win. That easy.
Hmm.
I I think that it'll be a small little trend on YouTube, but I haven't really seen anybody big play this game because I don't think they see it as worth their time because it is just such a short game. So if you like horror games and you like Pac-Man games, this is the game for you. Originally, I thought it was just going to be a Slender clone, but really it isn't. It's kind
Yeah.
of its own thing. It's more similar to Dead by Daylight than Slender. It's really
It's
similar to Dead by Daylight, actually.
it's got more of a puzzle aspect to it, but yeah, I was honestly expecting it to be more of a Slender clone as well.
It's more of like Hello Neighbor or Baldi than Slender.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's a pretty alright game. I just think that a better game could be made if the person who made it decided to add more features to it. Because it's called Core Collection, but there isn't a lot
Yeah,
here. There isn't a lot to collect. There isn't
no,
too many modes here.
really not quite sure what the core collection is supposed to be. I guess the generators, but I don't know.
I have a feeling collection's only in the title because the Pac-Man collection had just come out, and that released at the same time. I think that's the only
Ah.
reason why it had collection in its name, honestly, because it has nothing to do with a collection at all.
I mean, there's two games there. The Miss Pac-Man, normal Pac-Man. That's probably why. It probably wasn't gonna have it in there originally, but when that was announced, they probably added it in.
So yeah, I'll do another video on this when they add in Pac-Mom. Until then, this game is up for you to download on Game Jolt.